Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I am Contender Solid Gopher, and I will be commenting, whatever the word is. I am going to be talking to you about the wonderful battle that we're about to see here between Turn of the Century Steve and Evil Kurt. These two have been rivals for, as far as I can tell, anywhere between circa 1857 and 1893. Turn of the Century Steve, coming from the turn of the century, using his DeLorean to travel in between time. Evil Kurt is his arch nemesis and attempts to foil Turn of the Century Steve at any opportunity, including this apparently includes fighting game tournaments. Excuse me. Now, as we can see, Turn of the Century Steve enjoying his usual Tsubaki. He has been using her ever since she was released. Wonderful combos. Oh, there we have a wonderful close-up of Hype Dog. Bark, 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 bark. Hype Dog, the official mascot for push button receive combo. All right, we have the teammates lining up, and we begin round one, match one, between Turn of the Century Steve and Evil Kurt. Turn of the Century Steve, a very upfront player, taking on Evil Kurt. I believe this match is for 10 billion. Wait, never mind. This is just for the winning money. There was no other gamble or bet placed on this match. Evil Kurt laying it heavily on Turn of the Century Steve early into the match. Continuing laying on that heavy fire. Now the question is, can Evil Kurt, as he twiddles his diabolical mustache, be able to counter the in-your-face playstyle that is Tsubaki? Oh, we can have a special. Always a wonderful thing. Turn of the Century Steve, very efficient at specials and comboing. Now, Evil Kurt has been doing some wonderful work with his stick. The stick, I have absolutely no idea what it is called. Stick, staff, bow, staff, whatever you want. Laying on heavily, but it doesn't seem to be doing him much good, as Turn of the Century Steve appears to have made the finish. First round goes to Turn of the Century Steve. I see Turn of the Century Steve has just wrestled a ray gun from Evil Kurt's hands, and they will begin round two. Round two, starting off with charging from Tsubaki. Moving on, and we can see that the tables have been turned ever so slightly. Evil Kurt, I believe, may be using a small mind control device to affect the playstyle of Turn of the Century Steve. We do not have confirmation of this as of yet, but we will find out at the end of the match when we have an interview with the players. Turn of the Century Steve, returning, I believe, from 1963 to join us in this tournament, was then followed by Evil Kurt as he continued on to his diabolical scheme to stop Turn of the Century Steve from curing HIV. Evil Kurt obviously not desiring to have HIV ended, for the simple fact that he has many charities which he leeches from, for Evil Kurt is indeed evil. Seems, though, that Evil Kurt's diabolical schemes and plans are again working for him, as well as the mind control device that have been allowing him to, in this round, take the lead. Now, if he was Turn of the Century Steve can throttle this, he might be able to take the lead as we go into a wonderful combo here. Ending in a super, can this be it? Not quite. But as we move in, and Turn of the Century Steve takes the first round. Again, my name is Solid Gopher, a contender here, and as we continue in to the second match of the fatal battle between Turn of the Century Steve and Evil Kurt. Turn of the Century Steve deciding to vocalize his changing of colors. Maybe the Evil Kurt's ray gun does not affect the colors, much like Green Lantern's ring cannot affect the color yellow for some strange reason. And we go on a wonderful close-up again of what? And the wheel of fate is turning. Rebel 1 action. If anybody actually knows what they mean by Rebel 1, and just let me know. Evil Kurt moving in quickly in this game, laying on the heat. continuing as the pressure is being laid on, but he managed to allow Turn of the Century Steve to receive a little bit of his charge. Whether or not that'll affect the game later on is to be seen. Some wonderful air juggle attempts there to very little effect, but the Evil Kurt, as we all know, is a diabolical mastermind of untold intelligence, much like Professor Moriarty of the acclaimed Sherlock Holmes stories. Whether or not Evil Kurt did or did not, in fact, receive internship from Professor Moriarty is left to be seen, as Evil Kurt does not like to speak much of his past. Probably because knowing of his past would in fact alter the future and give us a sneak peek into the diabolical scheme that he may have prepared at the moment. Whether or not this is true, we will not know. All we can tell is that there are in fact diabolical schemes afoot.
There is in fact
and Turn of the Century Steve takes another round.
There is a theory that if you know Kurt's past, you will find out his weakness, but that doesn't hold true because, as everyone knows, Kurt has no weaknesses.
That is true, which is probably the main reason why Turn of the Century Steve has not, in the past century, has not been able to defeat Evil Kurt permanently. Even though I do believe that there were several band saws, a waterfall, and even an exploding zeppelin involved in 1923, where Turn of the Century Steve and Evil Kurt had in fact had a previous battle, and Evil Kurt was appeared 3 days later. Though whether or not he was in fact on the Zeppelin is unconfirmed, it might have just been Turn of the Century Steve liking fire. No confirmation on that either, as much as they don't like to talk about the incident much.
No, I have heard Steve muttering in his sleep sometime about some incident that will happen, mind, because he's a time traveler. He has mentioned the future, of course. It will happen, I believe, in the year 2357. And I believe it is in fact the reason why they are now fighting in a fighting game and not hand-to-hand like they usually do, or with bandsaws and zeppelins. I believe it resulted in the destruction of mankind as we know it, so they decided they would travel back in time and settle their feud with fighting games.
And that is the first win for Evil Kurt. Apparently his mind control device has finally taken hold of Turn of the Century Steve. But yes, I do understand the concept of the fighting game tournament, as I do believe, was it not in 1987, Lee, that the battle between them tore a hole in the fabric of reality, forcing 17 Evil Kurts and 17 Turn of the Century Steves to coexist in one place at one time.
I believe so, and I think Evil Kurt has been hard at work terminating his evil copies because there can be only one.
There can be only one. I believe there is also the effect of the quickening, as Evil Kurt is the muse behind the Highlander series. And there is another win for Tsubaki. Turn of the Century Steve takes it, as we can now find that in 2011, the battle between Evil Kurt and Turn of the Century Steve reigns on, with Turn of the Century Steve currently holding the lead over Evil Kurt, holding back his diabolical schemes. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And this is Solid Gopher signing out.
Unfortunately, of course, this will only make Evil Kurt's rage deepen. We are in big trouble.